Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Zeti Aziz, Pengerusi Kumpulan Permodalan Nasional Berhad PNB, Encik Ahmad Zulqarnain Onn, Presiden dan Ketua Eksekutif Kumpulan PNB, dan juga ahli-ahli lembaga pengarah serta pengurusan kanan PNB dan ASNB, para pemegang unit Amanah Saham Bumiputera, wakil-wakil media, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang sedang mengikuti sesi ini secara dalam talian, bagi pihak Permodalan Nasional PNB, Permodalan Nasional Berhad PNB, Majlis mengucapkan terima kasih kepada semua yang sudi bersama kami pada pagi ini untuk mengikuti pengumuman Pengagihan Pendapatan Amanah Saham Bumiputera ASB bagi tahun Kewangan berakhir 31 Disember 2020. Selaras dengan prosedur yang digariskan oleh Majlis Keselamatan Negara dalam kita menangani wabak COVID-19 yang masih belum reda, PNB bersiaran secara langsung dari Menara PNB di Jalan Tun Razak pagi ini khusus buat para pemegang unit ASB. Anda bersama saya, YBhg Aziz, Ketua Komunikasi PNB yang akan bertugas sebagai moderator pada pagi ini. Tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, saudara-saudari sekalian, saya dengan sukacitanya mempersilakan Pengerusi Kumpulan PNB untuk menyampaikan ucapan beliau. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I now invite our Group Chairman yang berbahagia, Tan Sri Dr. Zeti Aziz, to begin today's session. Dipersilakan, Tan Sri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, para pemegang unit yang dihormati sekalian, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Alhamdulillah, saya bersyukur kerana pada pagi ini saya dapat bersama anda semua secara virtual bagi mengumumkan pengagihan pendapatan Amanah Saham Bumiputera bagi tahun 2020 dan seterusnya membentangkan perkembangan terkini PNB. Kita semua sedia maklum betapa tahun 2020 merupakan tahun yang sangat mencabar kesan wabak COVID-19 yang melanda seluruh dunia. Walaupun persekitaran sangat mencabar, aset di bawah pengurusan PNB meningkat daripada 312 bilion ringgit kepada 320 bilion ringgit dan unit dalam edaran meningkat sebanyak 3.4%. Selain daripada itu, lebih daripada 200 ribu pelabur baru telah dicatatkan. Ladies and gentlemen, the year 2020 has been one of the most difficult confronting the world as we are experiencing a health, economic and humanitarian crisis all at the same time. The severe impact of the pandemic on the global economy was felt in the first half of 2020. There has, however, been some encouraging developments in the third quarter for most major economies as economic activity has gradually resumed. The reopening of the economies has also provided some reprieve for the commodity markets. The price of crude oil, which has reached its lows in April, has now steadily climbed up in the later part of the year. Meanwhile, the price of the crude palm oil has also been an upward trend since May this year. On the home front, while our economy was significantly affected by the first half of the year, it is now on a recovery path. Sporadic spikes in the number of COVID cases, however, may hamper this progress. Malaysia registered a much reduced contraction by 22.7% in the third quarter, following the declines in all economic sectors, with the exception of the manufacturing sector. On a positive note, Malaysia's current account surplus surged in the third quarter of 2020, and there was also a reduced contraction in the gross fixed capital formation compared to the previous year quarter. It also is encouraging that the ringgit has continued to strengthen against the dollar. Global developments in the fourth quarter has also provided us with some further encouraging prospects. Firstly, several parts of the world have started to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Secondly, the outcome of the 2020 United States presidential election has heightened expectations for better international relations amongst the major economies. Thirdly is the indications for continued accommodative monetary policies, and which have been reinforced by further fiscal stimulus in most countries around the world. These signs of an improving environment is also reflected in the equity market. After a period of high volatility and significant declines by 24% in the first quarter of the year, the KLCI has rebounded to record a year-to-date increase of 2.8%, supported by robust liquidity from retail participation in the market. Assuming an effective distribution of the vaccine across the world, the International Monetary Fund had revised its 2020 global growth forecast to a slightly reduced contraction of 4.4% from an initial projection of a contraction of 5.2%. On the home front, Malaysia's GDP growth rate for the year 2020 is projected by the Ministry of Finance to contract by 4.5%. The ringgit, however, is expected to continue its positive performance into the first half of 2021. The domestic economy is expected to expand by 6.5% or 7.5% in 2021, driven by the fiscal stimulus and improvements in international trade. With the global markets expected to remain highly volatile, the performance of the Malaysian stock market will be primarily influenced by the domestic corporate earnings and the commodity prices, as well as foreign capital flows and the overall market sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, turning now to the income distribution for Amanah Saham Bumiputera for 2020. ASB was first launched in 1990 as PNB's flagship fixed price unit trust fund as part of PNB's mandate to mobilize savings and increase equity ownership by the Bumiputera community in the corporate sector. The fund's investment objective is to generate long-term competitive and sustainable returns whilst ensuring preservation of unit holders' capital. The continuous growth of ASB's fund size over the years reflects the trust and confidence placed in PNB by our unit holders. The unit in circulation has now surpassed 170 billion units. In 2020, the fund has continued to increase by 3.8% for the year to date, and the number of unit holders has increased with 200,000 new accounts registered in 2020, bringing the total number of ASB unit holders to 10.2 million. We are very pleased to have with us 10.2 million unit holders for this fund. Bagi pihak PNB dan ASNB, saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih yang boleh tidak terhingga kepada semua pemegang unit yang terus memberi kepercayaan kepada kami sepanjang 30 tahun perjalanan ASB. Over the years, ASB income distribution has consistently remained competitive, and despite the negative performance of the KLCI in the 5 years out of the recent 6 years, ASB has continued to generate positive and competitive returns to our unit holders. In order to further strengthen ASB's investment portfolio and to ensure that the fund will continue to have the capacity to deliver long-term sustainable returns, the portfolio has been judiciously diversified into other asset classes and into global markets. As a result, ASB's investment in international public equity has increased to 5.9% as at November 2020, as compared to 3.6% in 2019. Overall, ASB's international exposure and investments into other asset classes, such as fixed income, real estate, and private equity, has increased to 16% from 10% in 2019. Alhamdulillah, I'm pleased to be able to share that this strategy has begun to yield positive results, with the proportion of gross income contribution from international public equity for the first 11 months of ASB's financial year increased from 6.3% in 2019 to 24.2% in 2020. The higher return from international equities for the year has cushioned the lower returns from other assets. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, saya dengan ini mengumumkan jumlah pengagihan pendapatan sebanyak 7.6 bilion ringgit kepada 10.2 juta ringgit. 2 juta pemegang unit Amanah Saham Bumiputera bagi tahun ini. Pengagihan pendapatan ini merangkumi pengagihan pendapatan sebanyak 4.25 sen seunit. Tahun ini juga sempena sambutan ulang tahun ASB yang ke-30. PNB berbesar hati untuk mengumumkan pengagihan ihsan sebanyak 0.75 sen seunit untuk 30,000 unit. Yang pertama kepada semua pemegang unit ASB bagi tahun Kewangan Berakhir 31 Disember 2020. Pengagihan pendapatan ini memberikan pulangan efektif sebanyak 5% kepada pemegang unit mempunyai 30,000 dan ke bawah. Bagi pemegang unit yang lebih daripada 3,000 unit, mereka juga menerima manfaat pengagihan ihsan ini. Ia adalah tanda penghargaan kami kepada semua pemegang unit ASB yang terus setia bersama kami sepanjang 30 tahun dana ini diperkenalkan. In conjunction with the 30th anniversary of ASB, PNB will be distributing a one-off ihsan payment for the first 30,000 units, which will benefit all 10.2 million ASB unit holders. The effect of the ESAN will be most pronounced for those with 30,000 units and below, as they will enjoy an effective distribution rate of 5% on their unit holdings. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 has undoubtedly been a challenging year, with the COVID-19 pandemic taking lives, severely impacting economic activity, and bringing significantly higher volatility to financial markets across the globe. Despite this challenging environment, PNB has managed to continue to deliver a competitive income distribution for its unit holders. Going forward, PNB will do our utmost to navigate these challenging times to ensure that we continue to deliver sustainable returns to our unit holders. We will continue the progress made in our diversifying of our investment portfolio so that we may build a truly all-weather portfolio with an optimal mix of asset classes and geographies. We remain cautiously optimistic about the future, and we will continue to explore new investment opportunities in this ever-changing environment so as to provide sustainable returns to our unit holders, whilst prudently safeguarding their investments. To our unit holders, we greatly value the trust and confidence that you have placed in us over the recent 4 decades. We will always continue to uphold this trust. Before I conclude, I would like to say thank you to all the team at PNB who have all worked very hard this year to ensure that we can conclude this year on a more optimistic note. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri, for sharing the macro review of 2020 and the outlook for 2021, and also announcing the income distribution for ASB. Next, may I invite our President and Group Chief Executive, Encik Ahmad Zulqarnain Onn, to present on the progress updates of PNB. Persilakan, Encik Zul.
Thank you, Aimi. Rakan-rakan media yang dihormati, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Alhamdulillah, saya amat berbesar hati dan sukacita kerana dapat bersama-sama tuan-tuan dan puan-puan pada hari ini secara maya. Saya harap semua sedang berada dalam keadaan sihat dan selamat. Seperti yang kita semua ketahui, 2020 merupakan tahun yang sangat mencabar. Pandemik COVID-19 telah menular dengan begitu cepat sekali dan memberi kesan yang begitu besar kepada ekonomi global dan pasaran kewangan di seluruh dunia. Sebagai institusi pelaburan yang giat di pasaran kewangan, tahun 2020 adalah satu tahun yang banyak cabaran kepada kami, tetapi alhamdulillah dengan strategi pelaburan jangka panjang serta pengurusan risiko yang mapan, kedudukan dan prestasi kewangan PNB terus kukuh dan stabil. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 has been an active year for PNB amidst a drastically changed economic, social, and also working environment. We launched our long-term strategic plan earlier this year, and like everyone else, in March, we had to quickly adapt to a new normal by accelerating our digital strategy for our various products and services. We launched an online withdrawal facility for our unit holders, and we also held a 100% online Minggu Saham Digital in November, a game-changing digital initiative in lieu of our normal Minggu Saham Amanah that we have held over the past 20 years. In response to the nation's needs, PNB was able to support the federal government's COVID-19 related initiatives with a total contribution of 23 million ringgit this year. In terms of PNB's overall performance for the year, I am pleased to report that PNB recorded 3 key achievements, namely resilient financial performance in a period of very volatile markets, continued progress in our portfolio diversification strategy, and also enhancing our unit holders' experience and also broadening our product offerings. Firstly, PNB's asset under management has increased by 2.7% during the year to 320.5 billion ringgit as at November 2020, reflecting continued trust by our unit holders. Despite difficult economic conditions, our unit holders continue to be long-term investors, as illustrated by the increase in our assets under management. Units in circulation for all of our funds also continued to grow by 3.4%, reaching 263.2 billion units. We continue to welcome new unit holders during the year, with an increase of 200,000 unit holders nationwide, taking the total number of accounts to 14.5 million. The ASB income distribution has yet again surpassed its benchmark, the Maybank 12-month fixed deposit rate, by 2.4%. This reflects a positive trend for PNB, as all of our fixed price unit trust funds have surpassed their benchmarks for 2020. We have made great progress in executing our diversification strategy. PNB's global public equity investments have increased to 8.3% as compared to 5.7% the year before. Our total global exposure across multiple asset classes now stands at 11.9%, an increase of approximately 4% during the year. Our diversification has begun to show positive results, where international investments delivered a larger contribution to PNB's gross income in 2020. International public equity contributed 27.3% of total income, an increase from 10.6% the year before. This clearly illustrates the importance of diversification in providing competitive and sustainable returns to our unit holders. Having said that, domestic equities remains the central component of our portfolio. Whilst the overall performance of our strategic and core companies were affected by the challenging market environment, underperforming the KLCI during the year, we believe that there are opportunities to create or unlock value, and this will be a key focus for PNB in 2021. Our team will continue to work closely with our companies to seek opportunities to deliver superior shareholder return and overcome this period of underperformance relative to the broader market. Finally, in 2020, Amanah Saham Nasional Berhad has continued with our strategies towards enhancing our customers' experience. ASB celebrated its 30th anniversary this year, and in celebrating this milestone, investment campaigns and contests were organized to convey our appreciation towards our investors while taking the opportunity to reach out to new unit holders. We also introduced several important initiatives, such as an online withdrawal facility, the digitization of the estate management services, and the introduction of the ASB Loan Help Desk, where unit holders can seek advice and assistance on matters relating to their ASB financing. During the year, we launched our very first global focus unit trust fund called ASN Imbang 3 Global. This global fund invests up to 65% in global financial markets and is primarily catered to investors with a preference for more international focused investment portfolios. We have seen great demand for the fund, with assets under management of 415 million ringgit just 2 months after the launch, and continuing to grow. PNB took a further step this year in executing our overall digital business strategy. We launched Raise Malaysia, an application that utilizes virtual spare change to automatically invest into our funds based on risk-based personalized investment portfolios. It is a unique way for unit holders to make the most of every cent they spend by adopting the concept of saving through spending. To date, Raise has recorded more than 160,000 sign-ups, 40,000 investment accounts, and is currently managing more than 8 million in funds. Last month, we proudly introduced Minggu Saham Digital, a digital adaptation of Minggu Saham Amanah Malaysia, The week-long edutainment live stream ended with a resounding success after having recorded 2.2 million views and garnering 7.5 million unique reach. We are extremely pleased with the outstanding reception, which has far exceeded our expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has radically changed the working environment. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues who have adapted well to the changes demanded by 2020. We've managed to reduce the number of staff working in the office to only 25% during the MCO and CMCO. It has not been an easy year for all Malaysians, and our staff have had to adjust tremendously to the way we work, how we communicate, how we interact, and how we come together to deliver the mission that we have all been tasked with. All of the achievements I have mentioned earlier would not have been possible without the unwavering commitment, determination, and sheer hard work of the PNB staff, and I would like to take this opportunity to extend my thanks and gratitude for their dedication to the cause. Moving forward, PNB will continue to uphold our mandate in providing value to our unit holders in 2021 and beyond. Firstly, we will continue with our diversification efforts for all asset classes. Our goal is to ensure maximum efficiency for our deployment plans, maintain sufficient amounts of liquidity, and also sharpening our value proposition. PNB is looking to increase the value of our strategic and core companies by having productive and continuous engagement with all of these companies. We will be sharing our clear aspirations and expectations, look to further enhancing governance, and review various value creation plans. Lastly, PNB will be leveraging on the momentum gained in 2020 by further accelerating our digital transformation initiatives, which includes improvement of our core systems and also enhancements of services to our unit holders. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 has indeed been a challenging year for all of us. Despite the difficult environment, we continue to deliver sustainable returns to our unit holders, distributing good returns against our benchmarks. We expect similar challenges to persist in 2021, and we will have to live with COVID-19 for a while longer while we wait for the vaccines to be rolled out nationwide. Notwithstanding these challenges, PNB will continue to uphold our mandate and remain true to who we are, a long-term investor focused on delivering sustainable returns to our 12 million unit holders. Together, today, PNB is as agile as ever, and we are well equipped to explore new opportunities. Before I end, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to the members of the media for attending today. You are very important in helping us communicate our mission and performance to all Malaysians, and for that, I thank you in advance. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Encik Zul. Dengan taklimat prestasi PNB oleh Encik Zulqarnain itu tadi, berakhir sudah Majlis Pengumuman Pengagihan Pendapatan ASB bagi tahun Kewangan 2020. Setinggi-tinggi terima kasih kami ucapkan kepada semua pemegang unit yang mengikuti sesi ini di Facebook PNB. Terima kasih dan Assalamualaikum. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri and Encik Zul, we turn now to the Q&A session with our media friends. We have almost 20 media organizations who have currently logged online to be with us today. To the ladies and gentlemen of the media, thank you for being with us and for sending us your questions in advance. Let us begin. Soalan pertama, Tan Sri, ya. Sejauh mana pandemik memberi impak kepada prestasi ASB khususnya dan pelaburan PNB amnya? Silakan Tan Sri.
Pandemik COVID-19 telah memberi kesan yang besar kepada ekonomi serta pasaran kewangan sedunia. Hampir kesemua negara mencatat pengucupan ekonomi dan pasaran equity global jatuh lebih daripada 25% awal tahun ini sebelum mula beransur pulih akhir-akhir ini. Keadaan ini secara langsung memberi tekanan kepada semua institusi kewangan dan pelaburan di serata dunia dan PNB tidak kecuali. Secara keseluruhannya, prestasi pelaburan PNB masih merangsangkan walaupun berdepan dengan persekitaran yang mencabar. Strategi pelaburan PNB telah membolehkan pengagihan pendapatan sebanyak 4.25% pada tahun ini dan aset di bawah pengurusan PNB juga telah meningkat kepada 320 bilion ringgit daripada 312 bilion tahun lepas.
Terima kasih Tan Sri. Dan soalan seterusnya Tan Sri dan Cik Zul, apakah usaha yang dilakukan oleh PNB dalam memastikan ASB terus memberikan pulangan pendapatan yang kompetitif kepada para pelabur?
PNB sentiasa fokus kepada strategi pelaburan jangka panjang walaupun berdepan dengan cabaran jangka pendek atau sederhana seperti krisis pandemik ini. PNB akan terus melaksanakan strategi kepelbagaian aset terutama kepada kelas aset yang lain dan dalam aset global. Kami juga telah mengukuhkan keupayaan pengurusan risiko kami. Would you like to add?
Nanti kalau saya boleh tambah, strategi kami telah mula menghasilkan pulangan yang positif untuk ASB, terutama sekali apabila pulangan ekuiti awam antarabangsa menjana 24.2% kepada pendapatan keseluruhan ASB, meningkat berbanding hanya 6.3% pada tahun 2019. Ini adalah sangat positif jika dibandingkan dengan peruntukan hanya 5.9% daripada portfolio keseluruhan. Selain daripada itu, kami juga akan memberi kerjasama kepada syarikat-syarikat pelaburan strategik dan teras PNB dalam inisiatif-inisiatif meningkatkan prestasi operasi serta pertumbuhan pendapatan demi menjana pulangan keseluruhan yang lebih baik kepada pelabur.
Thank you, Tan Sri and Cik Zul. We'll take the English questions now. Will PNB be able to maintain the ASB high dividend payout moving forward?
Well, like any other institutional asset managers and investment firms, the performance of ASB and our other unit trust funds managed by PNB will be affected by the global and domestic economic developments and its impact on financial and other asset markets. With improvements in the outlook for global and domestic economy following the vaccine deployment, most economies are expected to allow for a gradual reopening of economies and global trade. These positive developments have also been reflected in the improved performance of the global and domestic equity indices and the other asset markets. There are, however, lingering issues and risks surrounding these positive outlook. There are structural shifts in the global economy, and post-pandemic, we will see these changes and there are also continued unresolved geopolitical issues that would result in continued volatility in the financial markets in particular. Additionally, as central banks worldwide are expected to keep interest rates at historical lows, this will result in an ultra-low yield environment. So this is an environment that we are confronted with. PNB will continue to focus on a long-term investment strategy. In other words, we're not going to be distracted by short-term volatility. And it will be based on our assessments of the fundamentals, whilst tactfully also navigating the short to medium-term challenges to generate sustainable returns for our unit holders. This is important because we need to focus on the long term and generate returns that are sustainable, not to do well in one particular year and then do badly in another year. We want returns that are sustainable over time. Further diversification will be undertaken to avoid an over-concentration of risks. PNB will also be exploring investments into new emerging industries, while also strengthening further our risk management capabilities. The result of these strategies for this year have already shown that these efforts have yielded significant payoffs, as you have just heard.
Thank you, Tan Sri. We have a couple of questions related to the COVID-19 pandemic, if I may. Has there been any drastic withdrawal trend observed over the period of MCO this year?
The short answer is no. I think we're pleased to share that there have been no significant withdrawals during the various MCO periods, nor any increase in sudden withdrawals as well as a result of economic conditions. In fact, our unit holders have kept on increasing their investments with us, with units in circulation growing by 3.4% year to date to 263.2 billion units. We have also welcomed new unit holders who have started to invest in our funds with more than 200,000 new accounts registered during the year. And as I mentioned earlier, we also launched a new global fund this year, which has been very well received, clocking in slightly under R500 million in assets under management. So I think despite what has been a tough year, I think we believe that this is a reflection of the trust and confidence by our unit holders, given the competitive returns that we have delivered over the years.
Thank you, Encik Zul. And how has the pandemic affected PNB, if at all, then? And will there be any changes to the short to medium term strategies?
I think that's a good question. The pandemic, I think, has brought upon significant structural changes to the overall global economy and the financial markets, and affecting most businesses. I think certain mega trends such as digital adoption and sustainable investing have been accelerated in the post-COVID environment. As a long-term investor focusing on fundamental values, we will continuously assess the medium and long-term prospects of the existing portfolio, as well as identifying new investment opportunities that would benefit most from the emergence of these mega trends. This effort is consistent and in line with our focus on strengthening our investment portfolio through internationalization, through diversification across different asset classes and also different geographies, as well as placing increasing emphasis on the value creation initiatives in relation to our strategic and core companies. And in addition, we always continually monitor rigorously emerging risks within our stable of assets, while also assessing the long-term sustainability of the portfolio.
And the next question is, what is PNB's outlook for fund performance next year with recovery in the economy? Do you have any plans to reduce investment exposure in equity?
Recent developments, I think, surrounding the global economy includes the initial deployment of the vaccines, which we have seen in some countries. The US election results should ease trade tensions and also has brought renewed optimism on the prospect of recovery of the global economy. I think as economies gradually reopen, we have seen financial markets continue to rally, supported by robust liquidity, as global macroeconomic policies remain very supportive. However, we believe that the financial markets will continue to be volatile next year as the risks surrounding the path of recovery for global economies remain prevalent, particularly on trade talks as well as challenges to the global supply and deployment of vaccines. Equity investments has been traditionally a significant portion of our portfolio, but our diversification initiatives has seen the portfolio being gradually rebalanced into other asset classes such as fixed income, real estate, and private equity in various geographies. This is in line with PNB's long-term strategic asset allocation to generate sustainable returns. It is, however, important to highlight that domestic and international public equities will still form a large part of PNB's portfolio, but the key to this is to ensure that our investments are made into companies with strong fundamentals and long-term growth prospects.
Thank you, Encik Zul. And we have a question specifically on our portfolio. What is PNB's plan for its investment in Sapura Energy and Valesto Energy, especially with the movement of greener and cleaner energy moving forward?
So we are the single largest shareholder, and we will continue to engage with the board and the management of the companies as shareholders. Our view is that the oil and gas sector is at a cyclical trough given reduced demand due to the pandemic. It is a cyclical industry and has always been, and eventually cycles do turn for the better. So therefore, in the near term, our ask is that the boards focus on how to weather what is a difficult period, and we can also already see some benefits coming through improvements in operational efficiencies, cost optimization, and also value preservation. In the longer term, the shift towards renewables and green energy is inevitable and will be good for society, but we also believe it will be a steady and gradual one, giving opportunities for Malaysian companies to adjust their own strategies and to participate in this trend. We can see that the board and management of respective companies are evaluating and implementing appropriate steps to future-proof the business and ensure their long-term sustainability. So it is important for PNB to allow participation in the shift of how energy is produced globally and position our broader portfolio to take advantage of emerging technologies and also producers of renewable energy. I think I should just note that our exposure to the oil and gas industry is approximately about 5% of the portfolio, and we will continue to look at how we allocate across various asset classes and also various industries to take into account global mega trends.
Thank you, Shizul. I believe that's all the questions for today. Thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you, Shizul. To our media friends, if you do have additional questions, please email me, aziz@pnb.com.my, or my colleague Abdul Halim at pnb.com.my. As all of you are aware, the press release we have shared in the WhatsApp group we created for you. This will also be on our website, pnb.com.my, and on our social media platforms today, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We will be emailing you shortly after this the official photos and the video recording of this event to facilitate your publication and broadcast. Do let us know if you need any other information or materials. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, may I now invite our group chairman to close the session. Tan Sri, if you please.
Thank you. To members of the media, once again, thank you for being with us here today at this virtual event, and to all your organizations for the long-standing support that you have given us at PNB throughout our 4 decades of operation, and especially for Amanah Saham Bumiputera, which was launched 30 years ago. You have had an instrumental role in helping in our outreach, especially to Bumiputera unit holders, to encourage them to consistently save and to save for the long term in unit trust funds. Through your articles, our unit holders are able to better understand the importance of saving to achieve their own goals, life goals. With your support, the number of ASB unit holders has continued to grow even as we are facing challenging times. And in its 30 years, ASB has garnered the support of 10.2 million unit holders from 2.6 million when it was first introduced. Since its establishment, PNB has paid a total of 159.6 billion ringgit cumulative income distribution to our unit holders throughout these 30 years. So thank you again from all of us at PNB and ASNB. And as we approach the conclusion of 2020, I wish everyone a safe time with your families and friends. For those traveling out of town, do abide with the SOPs so that we can all stay safe and so that our untiring frontliners can have a much deserved time off for themselves as well. May 2021 bring brighter prospects for us in Malaysia and everywhere around the world, inshallah. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Tan Sri. With that, we have come to the end of our session this morning. Thank you once again, everyone. Have a great day ahead and stay safe. Terima kasih dan Assalamualaikum.